United States said it will pause its mission to escort commercial ships through the Strait of Hormuz, citing that progress had been made on the peace deal. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Hungary had returned cash and gold taken from employees of a state-owned Ukrainian bank.
EU countries have failed to provide targeted measures to shield suffering households and businesses from soaring energy prices, according to the International Monetary Fund.
The United Nations on Wednesday called on Israel to immediately release 2 activists taken from a Gaza-bound aid flotilla.
Not even 2 days after the United States launched a mission to escort commercial ships through the Strait of Hormuz, it has now said it will pause doing so. U.S. President Donald Trump said the decision had been taken following a request by Pakistan and other countries. He added that progress had been made towards a peace deal and that the pause of the mission will reveal whether or not the agreement can be finalized. The dispute over shipping through Hormuz as well as Iran's nuclear program are at the heart of the deadlocked talks between Washington and Tehran. While the ceasefire between the two holds, it does remain fragile. On Tuesday, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the U.S. would retaliate with a, quote, devastating response if Iran were to attack shipping in the waterway. Iran has also warned Washington against further escalation and claims it is the action of the U.S. and its allies that has put shipping security at risk. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Hungary had returned cash and gold taken from employees of a state-owned Ukrainian bank. In March, Hungarian police raided a convoy of cash carriers near Budapest, seizing cash worth millions and 9 kilos of gold. Hungarian authorities then opened an investigation into money laundering, suspecting the funds could be linked to criminal activities. Hungary's outgoing Prime Minister Viktor Orbán ordered the government to hold the cash and gold for up to 60 days while the investigation was underway. However, lawyers representing the bank and its employees argue the Ukrainian vehicles were carrying out a routine transfer from Austria to Ukraine. And Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha accused Hungary of kidnapping and state terrorism. Zelensky has now said the release of the assets marks an important step in relations with Hungary.
European capitals have failed to provide targeted measures to shield suffering households and businesses from soaring energy prices. Helge Berger, Deputy Director of the International Monetary Fund, told Euronews Europe Today program. He urged member states to focus on concrete solutions for the most vulnerable.
Governments are trying. It's usually a mix of good and bad policies, but most governments have in some way or the other tampered with the energy prices, which is not the way it should be going. So as time passes, if the situation continues, we need to be more targeted.
According to the IMF, oil prices have surged by around 70%, while European gas prices remain roughly 45% above pre-war levels. Although less severe than the 2022 shock, the increases are still expected to weigh heavily on growth. In the current energy shock, the IMF noted that 33% of electricity subsidies, if untargeted, could go to the 20% richest of the population, compared to 11% for the poorest. This gap is even wider when it comes to transport fuel subsidies, which the IMF identified as potentially benefiting the richest households for 34% rather than the poorest for 9% if the measures are untargeted.
The United Nations has called on Israel to immediately release 2 activists taken from a Gaza-bound aid flotilla, demanding an investigation into accounts they had been severely mistreated. Spanish national Saif Abukashek and Brazilian Tiago Avila, who have been held in a prison in Ashkelon, were among dozens of activists on the Gaza-bound flotilla intercepted by Israeli forces in international waters off the coast of Greece last Thursday. According to a statement by the UN's Rights Office, Israel must immediately and unconditionally release the Global Summit Flotilla members who were detained in international waters and brought to Israel, where they continue to be held without charge. Representatives for both activists have accused Israeli authorities of abusing the two men who have been on hunger strike for the past 6 days. Separately, the global Samud Flotilla announced that Avila's mother passed during his time in prison. The flotilla's vessels set sail from France, Spain, and Italy with the aim of breaking Israel's blockade of Gaza and delivering humanitarian aid to the war-ravaged Palestinian territory. 7 months after the accident involving the Gloria elevator in Lisbon, which resulted in the deaths of 16 people, the Graça funicular is back in operations. The reopening comes after repairs were carried out under supervision by Lisbon City Council, following the derailment and suspension of the funicular's operations.
A Carris, durante estes meses de encerramento, fez todos os testes possíveis. O IMT certificou o funicular e é perfeitamente seguro. Sempre foi seguro ao longo dos últimos 100 anos. Infelizmente, um acidente catastrófico parou todos os funiculares e ascensores da cidade, mas acredito que será seguro.
Eu tinha ruteiro que fazia Labra, Gloria e Vica, e lamentavelmente ficou muito afetado com o acidente, mas que agora, graças a la certificación que hace el gobierno y la Cámara, voltaron en segurança.
The closure of the funicular, one of Lisbon's most important transport systems, caused inconvenience for users.
O funicular era aquilo que eu usava mais desde que comecei a trabalhar aqui.
Uma cidade das 7 colinas precisa de ascensores funiculares, de escadas mecânicas, de outros elevadores para a mobilidade das pessoas.
Son medios de transporte que tienen más de 100 años, por lo tanto hay muchas historias que se misturan cada día y que esto vuelta a acontecer es una grasa como el barro muy importante y nos gustamos mucho.
The funicular connects Muraria to Graça and was inaugurated in 2024, 15 years after construction began. With a capacity to carry up to 14 passengers per trip, it completes the journey in approximately 1.5 minutes.
France's political left called for unity at a rally in Paris on Tuesday night following the announcement of hard-left France Unbowed Party's leader Jean-Luc Mélenchon that he'll be running for the presidency in 2027. The move has sparked discontent among the country's more moderate leftists, who would rather someone less polarizing than the 74-year-old French politics veteran. Lawmakers from the leftist Green Party, the Socialists, and the After Party have cast doubt over his chances of winning, given his track record in his 3 prior attempts in 2012, 2017, and 2022. Mélenchon has failed to reach a runoff vote in all 3, but believes his chances this time round are far higher. His biggest challenge will be against the far-right National Rally, who've been gaining popularity over the years across France's mainstream. Speaking to local media, Mélenchon called for a common front with Spain against the war being waged by the US and Iran and against Israel in the Middle East. He also warned that Europe is threatened by widespread war and a looming economic and social crisis, which he has previously blamed on capitalism. Mélenchon expressed confidence in his party's ability to win, saying, quote, "I think we're going to beat them, hands down." The National Rally's candidate will either be embattled 57-year-old Marine Le Pen, widely regarded as the face of right-wing politics in the country, or her lieutenant 30-year-old party leader Jordan Bardella. Their candidate will be selected after a decision is taken by an appeals court in July on Le Pen's eligibility after she was handed a political ban over her party's misuse of EU funds. France's left say they want to create a, quote, "real union excluding France Unbowed" and hold a primary to decide on their candidate.
Ron Arad is one of the most important figures in contemporary design who has never stopped experimenting with form, materials and their functionality. The solo exhibition Ron Arad 1992-2026 at the Opera Gallery in Monaco spans 35 years of the creative journey of the 75-year-old British-Israeli artist through a series of his iconic works.
I have a studio and it's like a progressive kindergarten. You know, I mean, it is driven by curiosity And we are very privileged that, we can try everything that we want. And it's from very little things, from jewelry to skyscrapers. Designed tall building, designed a hospital, a museum, and small objects. And there's no need to define exactly what we do. We do things that we are interested in, and lucky other people are interested in what we do. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to survive. And the key element is things that I'm excited to explore, to sketch, to talk about, to model, to develop, to build, and to see, like here in this exhibition, there are pieces that I made 30 years ago or more.
Known for his radical approach, Arad challenges the boundaries between art, architecture, and industrial design.
To design or to make art is always a symbiosis between the will of the artist, the process, and what the materials will let you do and what happens. There's no bad materials and there's no bad colors. They're all good, depends what you do with them. People always ask you, where do you get ideas from? Ideas are the easiest thing in the world. There's no shortage of ideas. The difficulty is to know which ideas you give your time to, which ideas you invest in, and which ideas you just let go.
The exhibition Ron Arad 1992-2026 at the Opera Gallery in Monaco is presented as part of the Principality's Art Week and runs until May 28th.